Yeah, I mean, like the best sort of YouTube stories usually come about because plans go awry. Like they always take a left turn somewhere. So with this project, for those of you who don't know, I have a 2016 or 2015 McLaren P1. And this was the one that most people saw on Instagram and TikTok floating down the street during the hurricane of about a year and a half ago here in Florida. So I bought that car thinking, hey, this would be a cool project. And then that ended up being like, oh my God, I need to replace everything on this $2 million hypercar.
Because it was submerged in salt water, right?
Yeah, it was all the way underwater.
I saw a video of it rolling down. I was like, I wonder if Freddie's going to buy that thing.
Yeah. And I wasn't at first, but then I think the universe was calling to me at a certain point, and you're like, okay.
Did people hit you up from that?
I got 1,000 messages that first. Oh my God. Like everyone's like, you got to buy this car. Oh my God, you have to buy it. Yeah.
Because you're the only one really doing it with that level of car. I mean, there's only 370 ish of these.
Yeah, there are 375 cars, and then they had like some race car version. So they have the GTR version. I think they made like 50 or 60 of those. Wow. Yeah, it's a really, really rare car. Most people have never seen one. I certainly had never seen one until I bought mine. I've never driven one. Still haven't driven one.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been fortunate enough that people have like. They've like given me the keys and said, hey, do you want to drive it? And I was like, no, I want my first one to be the one I built.
That's cool.
Special.
Yeah, mad respect for that.
But it's also because I don't want to be disappointed, because if I do something wrong, I don't want to know. I was like, oh, this is not the way it's supposed to be? Oh, that rattle's not normal? Okay.
You don't want to know how good it could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you saw this, everyone was blowing you up, buy this, and then you ended up buying it. How did you get the bank to loan you money for a completely destroyed hypercar?
So it's easier than you think. So I had a really good bank. There is a bank here that was essentially founded by one of the people I know. And I asked him, you know, he's pretty, this guy's pretty good with money. And I said, hey, do you know anybody who would loan me $500,000, you know, in like a few days? Because the auction was coming up. It had a $575,000 buy it now. And
and you wanted to get it before
I wanted to go, before it went to auction. So, you know, it no-sailed twice before at $400,000, like $400 and then $398. So nobody's going to pay $575, except for me, because I'm an idiot. So then I go to the bank and I say, like, there's also no way that I can do that I can essentially lie to the bank, because this is going to be such a public thing. So I just told them straight out. I said, can you loan me this amount of money? It's $575,000 for this car that had been underwater. Here's the pictures of it. Here's what I do. I'm a YouTuber. I rebuild these cars and whatever. This car, you know, the title situation is very sketchy, and that car probably won't run, and like we're gonna have to rebuild everything. And they were like, okay.
Really?
And, yeah.
It's that easy.
And in 3 days I had the money.
3 days they got you half
3 days from me asking, and then I did like a fight. Like the good thing about it is, so I put all my cars as collateral. So I said, hey, I have this car collection. I could borrow against this, because I've never had any car financing or anything. I've always paid all my cars off. Like I bought them all cash, and I guess I'm like Dave Ramsey in that respect. But like, he's not buying
Ramsey of supercar collection.
Yeah, but he's not buying junk ones, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't owe anything on anything, so I was like, oh well, I have some equity in this stuff, so I was like, why don't I just put all this stuff as collateral? And they were like, okay. So even if worse comes to worse, like okay, I'll lose a few cars, but whatever.
A few cars or your whole car collection? What did
a majority of it, like a good majority of it,
like everything that was clean and titled and done.
Like all the fun ones, you know. I figured if I didn't take this opportunity, if I didn't take this risk, then why am I even doing this?
And when's the next time something like that will come up?
Never. Yeah. So it's never going to happen again. So I figured, one of the reasons why I went for the P1 as quickly as I did is because a few years ago there was a Bugatti Veyron that went up. Yeah. And then that was the flood car. So that was I think like 10 years ago or something. It went into the Galveston Bay, and it was like this video that went viral. Like this was maybe very early YouTube or pre-YouTube. So this dude is driving this Bugatti Veyron, and then he just goes straight into the water, like big splash, everything like that. And the guy recording the video was like, "I'm pretty sure it's a Lambo, dude." Yeah, but it ended up being like this guy was just trying to commit insurance fraud because he said that there was a seagull that went in his way, and he went into the water, and then the video clearly showed that there was no seagull. So this car that had went into another saltwater, situation with the engine running, by the way, like into the thing, then that went up for sale for like $300,000, and then like it was very sketchy as far as like who actually owned it because it exchanged hands. Like people went to jail, and it became property of companies that now went under and then went into receivership. It was crazy.
Didn't it end up sitting at like some dude mechanic's shop or something?
So kind of. So it basically ended up being like taken into like a million pieces, like in a warehouse like this.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine, Houston Crosta, he ended up buying everything. So he probably bought it for $350 or $400 or whatever. And so he rebuilt it. And I mean, he did a really good job. I saw the car. I've seen the car finished.
Oh, it's driving around now.
Yeah, it's driving around now. I mean, as far as I haven't seen the car actually driving, but I know that he's been like I have the pictures and stuff of like his custom interior, custom paint. It looks fantastic. It's really,
awesome.
really, really good. But for me, that was always the car that got away. It's like, I wish I could have got that because that would have been really, really cool. And then when this P1 happened, I'm like, holy crap, this happened 5 minutes ago. I need to get this car.
Yeah.
And arguably a lot more people, the P1 to me is a cooler car.
Yeah. I mean, to me too. I mean, I guess that is a biased decision, but McLarens have always just been like, and the P1 is just based on Formula One technology. Yeah. They used a lot of Formula One stuff there. It's interesting that we had the Wheeler Dealers crew here the other week, and their mechanic, who is Mark Priestley, they call him F1 Elvis. He was actually like the team head for tech in McLaren F1, like their F1 division. So he knew everything there was to know, and that was like when they had like the big V10 engines going, crazy amounts of power. So I love when he gets to geek out on this stuff because it's like, oh yeah, we use this in F1 like for real. Yeah, and there's never been a car like it since. I think Aston Martin's trying to do one, but it's not real yet, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, so the thing that I've thought about with these cars, so the McLaren P1 was part of the, as Jeremy Clarkson coined it, these hypercar holy trinity. So it was a McLaren P1, Ferrari LaFerrari, and the Porsche 918. And those cars were very significant, and because it marked a step forward in technology, and like that their hybridization was sort of the way forward. And this was, I mean, they started designing these cars in like 2010, 2011. So even though their specific technology was like, it's super outdated now, it just marked that these cars were sort of here to stay, and they made like a ton of power. They're super fast. They can still be lightweight, all this stuff. And now we see cars like the, Lamborghini Revuelto, which is like 1,000 horsepower. It's hybrid. Yeah, the Ferrari SF90, it's like 1,000 horsepower, hybrid. You have all these cars that, owe their successes, for better or worse, to these three starting points. And I think those were realistically the last significant hypercars that we have seen. Like maybe you could make a case for like the McLaren Senna, maybe, but it's one of those cars is cool, but you can't say it's pretty. I could say the P1 is really pretty. Like it's a fantastic looking car. It has a design made by the same guy who made the 675 LT, by the way, Frank Stephenson. So that design is timeless. Like you can release that car today and it'll look fine. Like it looks like it's a brand new car. It looks like it's made in the future. So I love that about the car. But, obviously rebuilding a car like that has a lot of challenges.
Because it's fully carbon fiber, right?
Yes.
Everything on that.
Everything on the car is carbon fiber. The only thing, save for the rear subframe, front subframe, those are aluminum. And, maybe some switches and stuff are like plastic. But like Everything else is carbon fiber. The dash is carbon fiber. The wheel wells carbon fiber. Everything. The suspension is aluminum, but it's like billet.
Man,
yeah, everything
that's
is
crazy.
It's crazy. Bespoke. For that car. There's a few things that you can, that they saved some money on, like. I don't know, the frame for the dashboard is the same as you would get on any other McLaren. So you can buy that on eBay. But like on everything else, it's just like, well, you just made it for the P1, so that's a P1 part.
So I'm curious, do you have to go to McLaren for everything for these cars when they get damaged, or like the front end damage on that car right there? Like, was that all McLaren, or is there people making aftermarket parts?
So there's no people making aftermarket parts realistically, because they only made 375.
So it wouldn't make sense to.
No, it wouldn't make sense unless you're charging a lot of money for cars. Now, I am working with a company called Exotic Car Gear, and they make bespoke carbon fiber parts. And they did, we did come together and make a body for, my car. So my car, I'm not just doing a stock body, I'm doing like a modified body. So we're doing the P1 GTR body, which is 2 inches wider in the back. But the P1 GTR is a race car, so it has like a fixed wing in the back, and I didn't want that because we want a lower aero profile, meaning that like when we go really, really fast, we want the car to be slippery. We don't want to have like a big, fixed wing that's gonna, increase drag. So the road car has a wing that like retracts into the body, so we kept that. So basically, it's just a regular P1, just slightly more aggressive. And we made that also in exposed carbon, because I felt like even though I'm rebuilding this car, it wasn't enough of a challenge. So we decided, so we were like, why don't we make this like impossible to paint?
Was that really? You really thought it wasn't enough of a challenge?
No, absolutely not. I was just like, hey, no, this is an incredible challenge. No, I thought like, okay, maybe it'll look really cool if we do this, and then. I got it into my brain that like, okay, I can't have the car without this now. So we're going to have an exposed carbon, but it's also going to be tinted. So we have a candy that goes over it. So it's going to have a solid color, but under the color, you're going to see all the carbon weave.
Ooh, that is so nice.